All right, hello to you. Good afternoon. I'm Fox 26 meteorologist Ramisha Shade. We are here in the studios closely tracking what is still a very dangerous hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico. It's now pushing into the eastern Gulf of Mexico because it is getting closer to that Florida Gulf Coast. Of course, I'm talking about Hurricane Milton. Of course, not long ago, it was a monster of a hurricane, a Category 5. It has gone through some weakening today as expected, thank goodness, but it also really started to speed up as it's going through this weakening. So we are expecting a landfall a little bit earlier than we were today. So certainly something that we're monitoring closely, but regardless of whether it's weakened a bit, whether the landfall is a little earlier or a little later, it is still going to be a huge problem for parts of Florida. So you can see it getting very close to the Tampa area. And here are the things that you need to know about Milton. Milton's latest impacts. It's speeding up, definitely. It is going to make landfall now, likely a little bit before midnight, likely between 10 p.m. and 11:30. Previously, we were thinking that landfall would be closer to maybe 1 or 2 a.m. early Thursday morning, but now it looks like it will happen before midnight. Another thing with Milton, tropical storm force winds now extend out up to 250 miles from the center. So even though Hurricane Milton has gotten a little bit weaker, it is still a major hurricane at a Category 3, and it is much larger. So a lot more folks are going to experience those tropical storm force winds. And then, of course, in the core or the center of this hurricane, we have those hurricane force winds, which will be 100 miles per hour plus. Also, Milton, like I said, a bit weaker, but now much larger, and it is still very dangerous. It is still a Category 3 hurricane on the Saffir-Simpson scale, and we normally consider a major hurricane Category 3 or greater. So it is still a major hurricane, and it can do a lot of damage, especially since it was previously a Category 5. That water has been building up within this hurricane, and it is still going to pile up along the coast right around Tampa, likely Bradenton, Sarasota. So we are certainly still thinking this is going to be a huge problem for the Florida Gulf Coast and really the east coast of the Florida Peninsula as well. Here is the latest. Those winds have now dropped to around 125 miles per hour, and we do have the pressure that continues to rise, so it is getting a little bit weaker. It's racing to the northeast right around 17 miles per hour, and we'll continue to see that potential for more weakening. That is some good news, but overall we are going to have that chance for the possibility for this to remain right where it is now. Looking at the latest advisor, it looks like those winds have dipped to around 120 miles per hour. So it is still a Category 3, but overall it is going to still be a big problem for Florida. As far as where it is headed, it will likely make that landfall between 10 p.m. and 11:30, right around Tampa to Bradenton to Sarasota, likely very close to Fort Myers as well. So in between Tampa and Fort Myers, we are expecting that landfall. After that happens, it is going to roll across the Florida Peninsula, likely making it to Orlando early Thursday morning, still as a Category 1 hurricane. So that means hurricane force winds over around Disney World and other portions of Orlando. It then will start to push offshore and push into the western Atlantic as we go into Thursday afternoon and evening. So that quicker speed will be good because we'll get it in and we'll get it out. But while it sticks around, it is already wreaking havoc, producing a lot of tornadoes, very heavy rain. And of course, we are still very worried about that threat for storm surge. As far as weakening, that is expected to happen as we go into Thursday evening, Thursday night, back down to a tropical storm and likely losing those tropical characteristics, becoming a post-tropical system as it pushes farther out into the Atlantic as we go through the weekend. So right now we are still anticipating Hurricane Milton to make landfall, likely as a Category 3. And as I said, a Category 3 still considered a major hurricane with winds around 111 to 129 miles per hour. Now that's better than it making landfall as a Cat 4 or Cat 5, but that is still a powerful and dangerous hurricane. So we are dealing right now with bands of very heavy rain. You can see the center of circulation just to the south and west of Tampa and Bradenton, but all of those torrential downpours have been rolling in. And I think the biggest story so far today has been the humongous tornado outbreak that we've experienced across central and southern portions of the Florida Peninsula. We have had numerous reports of tornadoes, even large, long track tornadoes that have occurred in some of these stronger rain bands. You can see those red areas popping up and some of those purple areas popping up. Those are tornado warnings and confirmed tornadoes in the purple. So we've had several of those being reported around Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, and points to the north. So these rain bands can be dangerous in and of themselves, and that's not even the actual eye wall, which is going to be the most intense portion of this storm. So we've got tornado watches out for much of the Florida Peninsula. We're worried about that storm surge threat. The storm surge still could get up to around 12 feet between Tampa, Bradenton, Sarasota, maybe all the way down to the Port Charlotte area. We are going to be dealing with some major storm surge. Of course, if you're talking about storm surge around 12 feet, that's taller than a one-story building, and that could certainly be deadly for many people if they have not evacuated. So hopefully folks have evacuated, because this is certainly a serious situation. Wind will still be a big issue. Even though it's a little bit weaker, we could still have those hurricane force winds, 100 miles per hour plus, rolling right through Tampa Bay and also over towards Bradenton and down around Port Charlotte as well. Flash flood risk has been pretty serious down there. We're talking about the potential for several inches of rainfall for Florida, up to a foot of rain, and maybe isolated totals up to around 18 inches. So a lot going on with Hurricane Milton. All right, I believe we have a webcam. Let's head over to our camera. This is coming in from Naples, Florida, and you can see some very angry waves out there. We've got very choppy water. That water is certainly building. We've got these showers and storms that continue to roll over this area, and conditions will only be deteriorating as we go through the next several hours. Like I said, Hurricane Milton starting to speed up a little bit, but that just means the impacts will definitely be getting worse as we go through the next several hours. So we're certainly going to be monitoring things very closely. A lot of people impacted, millions of people impacted across Florida, a lot of risks involved, power outages increasing. I'll have much more coming up for you throughout the afternoon. Right now, we're going to head over to meteorologist John Dawson with the latest on storm surge, the wind fill with this, and just exactly some of the crazy impacts that we could see from Hurricane Milton.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about those winds. I want to talk a little bit about that storm surge, and it's the winds that we're certainly concerned with. We're thankful that they're beginning to weaken a little bit as expected, but as we talked about, that wall of water that gets pushed out ahead of that is still going to bring that high storm surge to the area. So this is the winds that's expected. This yellow circle here represents tropical storm force winds. That has already begun to reach the east coast of Florida. The orange are the stronger of the tropical storm force, and then right here in the center where you see the icon representing a category 3, we also have that red shading. That's that hurricane force winds. And notice that we'll continue to keep that happening all the way across the peninsula, and even having some hurricane force winds on the east coast by tomorrow morning. This is about 6:30 in the morning where we have the location of that storm plotted right now. And then eventually, of course, that's going to kind of work its way on out of the system overall. So this catastrophic type of a wind situation with a category 3 to a category 4 winds is what we're looking at. That's going to be able to rip off roofs of houses, also knocking down as well trees that are going to be happening. And then the storm surge is something else that we want to talk about. Just kind of a reminder of what that is. It's not just inland flooding, like where you see a bathtub filling up with water and then it goes back down again. This is a situation in which all of the currents and the ocean waves that you would normally see, instead of staying at their normal level, they increase above that normal level. So where we normally just have sand that's showing, that fills with water. The tower cam water is an example of that. Normally there would be a beach there, but that beach is gone because the water has come up already. And then we're beginning to deal with as much as 12 feet of storm surge. So that's over the top of a one-story building. Normally you use sort of a 10-foot range when you look at those possibilities of different size of the water. So those threats are still going to be happening. We're still going to be keeping an eye on those and monitoring those for you. We'll continue to keep you updated on Fox 26. We will come back here on Fox Local as well as on air at 5 p.m. We'll expect to see you then.